This is the 11th Mayor's Development Roundtable. I've had the pleasure of hosting the last 9. Mayor Humphreys down here sitting up front, and you'll be hearing from him later, hosted the first 2. And I remember coming to those events and just filling up pages and pages of notes. I'm a note taker by trade and by habit, and I remember thinking, this information is just not readily available anywhere else. And we have tried to maintain that vision throughout the years. We've tried to make this a gathering place so that everyone gets all of the information that's available. We want you to have opinions from civic leaders here, civic leaders around the country. We also want you to hear from our staff and our elected leaders about the types of programs that we see coming. We all know about the tremendous amount of construction that's going on in Oklahoma City right now. Virtually every yellow cone that you see, virtually every construction vehicle and person out there working is working on a project that at one time or another was discussed at a Mayor's Development Roundtable. And so the fact that we're working on stuff today and talking and dreaming and scheming, we feel will only continue to fuel that vision, and the projects that will unfold over the next few years will be discussed today. We have gathered up a wonderful list of people to speak today, and one of the selling points, I think, of getting great speakers is to tell them who's going to be in the audience. And the idea of this audience is to get the real estate developers, the planners, the bankers, the people in our community who can really make great development happen, all in the room at the same time. We think the information and opinions are important, but I think most importantly, this is a great networking opportunity. And I love the idea of people seeing each other here, hearing about ideas, and starting to think about what their next project might be. I think that's very, very powerful. We'll be continuing the 2020 lightning rounds that seemed to be so popular last year. That's when a presenter has 20 slides and 20 seconds on each slide. And it allows you to kind of get an update very, very quickly on some important projects that are going on. I hope you'll enjoy that. We also will have opportunities for you today to give us feedback on what you like and what you don't like, and that'll help us better program next year. Right before lunch, we're going to hold a super panel roundtable. You'll be able to ask speakers some questions. You'll note on your table there are some cards somewhere. And if you'll find those cards, you'll be able to write out questions. And the way we'll do the Q&A is that you'll hold the question and somebody will come around and take it from you. And then we'll rush the question up and get to as many of them as we can. We do have a tremendous lineup of speakers today, and we will get started with that right now. Our first kickoff speaker is the mayor of Salt Lake City, Utah. You know, a lot of mayors have a long learning curve. It takes a long time to kind of generate the level of knowledge to be able to handle the diverse backgrounds and list of information and duties of being a large city mayor. But this mayor had a very short learning curve. He served at the Utah State Planning Coordinator under Governor Scott Matheson. Then he had gone on to launch his own Salt Lake City-based consulting firm, Bear West, which specialized in community planning. He's also worked on environmental assessment, public land use, public involvement, all of that before launching into a political career. He has been 3 years the mayor of Salt Lake City, and he has already greatly expanded the transportation options available to the city's residents. He's had a special focus on public transit, trails, and bikeways. He is a leader who has already made and will continue to make collaboration and partnerships an essential element to the efforts of making Salt Lake City a world-class city. It is already pretty vibrant, livable, a very sustainable community. I think its residents are very, very proud of the city they've created, and they're especially proud of their mayor. Here to talk about implementing Salt Lake City's community vision, please help me welcome the mayor of Salt Lake City, Ralph Becker.
Well, good morning. Thank you all so much for allowing me to join you. I've got to tell you, I just started my second term, and when I became mayor, as most mayors do of larger cities, joined the U.S. Conference of Mayors, and we all have affinities towards different folks and feel like we learn from other folks. Mayor Cornett, I can tell you, among mayors, is a giant among mayors. We not only look up to him, but we also look at what's going on here in Oklahoma City and admire what's happening here. And I can just tell you, every time I have a chance to sit down and visit with Mayor Cornett, which is pretty regularly, we've been able to interact quite a bit, I feel like I come away with ideas of things I can be doing in my city and benefit from, as well as just his general approach, which obviously you've all benefited from, and looking at Oklahoma City is remarkable. I first was coming through Oklahoma City in the early 1970s. I was going to school in Pennsylvania, and I was working out at the Grand Canyon, and my main means of transportation getting back and forth between school and my summer job was to hitchhike across the country on US. So I'd come down to US 40 and take it all the way across. And Oklahoma City was a little different place then, as is true maybe for all of our cities. But when I see what is happening here, it certainly provides an incredible inspiration for me and for us in Salt Lake City. Salt Lake City is very similar in many respects. I'm going to see if I can work my way through this. To Oklahoma City. We are both capital cities. And that is both an honor. There's prestige that comes with being a capital city. Like Oklahoma City, we are the largest city in the state. We are the center for not only our valley, but really for a whole region. And that regional center brings enormous benefits. Salt Lake, as many of you know, really when we founded it was, when the valley was first settled, it was not even part of the United States, actually. Mormons were seeking refuge from persecution they had faced as they had kind of started and moved across the East and the Midwest, and were literally burned out of every community they started, and so they were looking for a place where they could be alone. And they ended up settling out in the middle of the Great Basin, or on the edge of the Great Basin in the Rocky Mountains, in 1847, before it was even part of the United States. The next year, it became part of the United States. But as a result, when the city was founded, it was and established, it really was a theocracy. I mean, the Mormon Church ran the world of this part of the country, and it's unique as a capital city in that every major state institution was located in Salt Lake City. So a lot of people don't realize, but when states form, the state institutions get scattered around the state, right? So the university goes one place, and the corrections facility goes somewhere else, the capital city goes somewhere else. Well, in Salt Lake City, they were all congregated in one place. And it gives us great benefit in many respects in that there's so much state and governmental infrastructure, as well as being the center of commerce and the center of arts and culture and many things you'd expect in the largest city. But it also presents challenges, and you may face the same things in Oklahoma City. The majority of our property in Salt Lake City is non-taxable because there's so much governmental land and so many governmental institutions. And of course, it's the home of the LDS Church, which is, and many other nonprofit organizations which are non-taxable in terms of their property. It also has the second largest increase in daytime population of any city in the country. So our commuters coming in double our population every single day. Unfortunately, from our point of view, and hopefully you don't face this in Oklahoma City, but our tax structure in the state doesn't reflect that daytime population. Much of the tax distribution is based on population, resident population. So we've got some challenges associated with being a capital city. And it makes partnerships, and it makes being appreciated, hopefully, and getting along with our neighbors of utmost importance to accomplish what we want to be able to do as a city. Also like Oklahoma City, we are a professional franchise. Congratulations to the Oklahoma Thunder. I can tell you, you are what we aspire to be now. 10 years ago, it was the flip side of this, I know, in terms of the Stockton-Malone era in Salt Lake. But we have been, I have been, I can tell you, and I know as a community, because we follow basketball so closely and love our Jazz so much, we have been following Oklahoma City Thunder from the time that the franchise moved here, and you have these exceptional young players that you've been able to keep together and develop. We now hope with a great young talent in Utah. I think everyone was kind of surprised, as was the first time Oklahoma City Thunder made the playoffs, that the Jazz made the playoffs. I can tell you I am rooting for the Thunder, relatively small city franchise, and it is so exciting to watch the Oklahoma City Thunder. I wish I was going to be here for a game, actually, but because our season is well over at this point. But anyway, congratulations to you. And it makes, as we know, it makes a huge difference nationally, as Judy was mentioned, to be known as a national pro city. We also have Major League Soccer, and of course in 2002, Salt Lake City hosted the Winter Olympics, which really helped put us on the international map. We're now looking at going after the 2022 Winter Olympics Games. So we're going to be making a decision on that in the next little while, whether or not we pursue that. So what is it that, for us, and I think for certainly all communities, that lead to success? Success as a community in terms of where everyone lives and loves to live, for businesses to be successful. And so I'm going to speak very much now for a while. It's my chance to brag about my city a bit, and things that are happening certainly with our city. Like Oklahoma City, we have weathered this recession unbelievably well. I was just learning your unemployment rate's down under 5%. Ours is just over 5%. And I know with Mayor Cornett, he probably faces a similar reaction when he's in front of other mayors, because it's almost embarrassing when your community is doing so well now. The communities are starting to come out of it, but for the last few years, we have been in a boom time in Salt Lake, as you're experiencing here in Oklahoma City, and yet most of the country has just been struggling to hold on. Salt Lake City was named as one of the top 15 cities for business in the world. Only 2 cities in the United States made that list. We have been named by Newsweek and Forbes magazine and others as one of the top job markets in the country. So we're doing really well, and these factors that you see listed here are all important features, I think, in terms of, the reasons for our success. And I want to focus on one that is kind of unique to Salt Lake City. We are a true mountain city, and those mountains give us not only an incredible natural setting and sense of place, but opportunities that are unique to our city. And every city has these, the natural or features, whether it's your physical geography or your location or aspects about your city. And for us, I mentioned the Winter Olympics. We've got ski resorts and our mountains literally outside of our doorsteps, and it serves as all of our backyards. So that's a feature that is kind of unique to Salt Lake that we work to certainly to capitalize on. I'll just mention, I'm going to be going through in some more detail. Here's a list of some of the kinds of things that are kind of our building blocks in Salt Lake City. I mentioned that the flagship university for the state is in Salt Lake, the University of Utah. That is the largest source of spin-off jobs of any really university in the whole country. We surpassed MIT a few years ago. And it is a great source of creativity, and we know in the creative economy of today how important that is. Arts and culture is something that is at the heart of, I know, what you focus on here in Oklahoma City, and is as well in Salt Lake. I'm going to be getting into these in some more detail, but just to put it in perspective, There are more pianos per capita in Utah than any other state in the country. One of the unique things about the Mormon culture is that every local church does performing arts productions. I mean, whether it's barbershop quartets or musicals, and there's this community of arts and culture in Utah that is quite remarkable. Our airport, if you put your finger down in the middle of the western U.S., you would land on Salt Lake City. So it has been the transportation crossroads of the West for a long time in many, many respects. And our airport is certainly a big part of that. I'm going to talk more about transit in a little while. Spinning out of the university in a health sciences complex, our medical and technology areas are exploding. We're a biotech center in the country, one of them. And that is really one of the major sources for new businesses for us, as well as we're proud to say that we're the home of a Nobel Prize laureate as well. And like most major cities, we are the financial services center for the community. But all of these things, it's a matter of, from my perspective and from where I sit as mayor, it's a matter of looking at both what we have as a community and really using that as our basic building block for our future. Current projects. We just opened a month ago the City Creek Center in downtown Salt Lake. It's a 22-acre development. It is over $1.5 billion. The property is owned by the LDS Church, so we never learn full numbers whenever they're involved in things. They tend to keep it pretty secret. But it is an amazing downtown development, and because they work in the cash world, they never even recognized there was a recession, except it gave them more money to work with because construction costs came down. But it is a mixed-use development. And it has more than several 100,000 square feet of retail, residential, and office. I'll be getting into that more. The Utah Performing Arts Center, I'm just going to kind of go through these really quickly here, and I'll come back to them. Utah Performing Arts Center is something I've been working on since I came into office. The 111 Main Street is a project that is associated with our Performing Arts Center development. The city just acquired an old vaudeville theater called the Utah Theater to both save it and to put it back into use. We're doing a restoration of our old, beautiful old historic theater, the Capitol Theater, and we are working on a convention hotel. So a lot of major projects going on here, and they're spread throughout our city. In our downtown, our major development has kind of moved to the western part of downtown, and that's the Depot District, the Granary District. I'll be talking some more about some of these projects, so I won't go into them in detail here, but you can see there's a long list of things that are happening or just completing in Salt Lake City. So let me talk a little bit more about City Creek Center. It's a joint venture of the LDS Church. The retail is operated by Taubman, which is the largest retail operator in the country. When we opened a month or so ago, it is the first major retail development project that's been opened in the last 4 years. I mean, it shows you what the condition of our economy has been, but also quite remarkable. I mentioned the square footage, and like most, when they first came to us, it was kind of a mall development, and we said, this is downtown. What we need and want downtown is not an insulated kind of development, but something that is integrated as part of our downtown. And only the LDS Church or someone like them, a huge institution like this, can do this. They stepped back for a year and completely redesigned their development, added residential, and reoriented the project to be both interior, to be not only accessible through nice corridors, visual and pedestrian corridors to the outside, but then also all of the storefronts on the outside of the blocks got energized and invigorated. But it is already remarkable and kind of the envy of other parts of our region. The public safety building is a really interesting project for the city. When I the year I got elected to office, a bond to build a new public safety building failed. And so one of the first things I did, even before I was sitting formally in the seat, was to sit down and evaluate what happened, what the project was. And we concluded we really needed the building, that wasn't the problem. We had a building literally that was falling apart. The joke in the fire and the police department was, would they get stuck in the elevators on their way to getting out to the scene of the crimes or emergency responses they needed to get to? They were in that dilapidated a building. And so we brought it back and trimmed down basically a $200 million project to a $125 million project, brought it back to the voters, and this was against, Mayor Cornett will appreciate this, against the advice of almost everyone. I said, we've got to get this thing back out there and just do a better job of explaining to the public the need, and do a better job of assessing costs. And so we had our Chamber of Commerce and our Taxpayers Association, which never supports any increase in taxes in our community, supporting it in the end, and it passed it in 2009 with over 60% of the vote. So we were very pleased with that. It's obviously a large project. It includes an emergency operations center. It's now under construction, and it will be the first net zero public safety building in the country. Net zero is becoming more common, but the demands, the energy demands of a building that needs to not only be survivable, but has enormous communications requirements, as well as an ability to withstand virtually anything that may hit it, hopefully not literally, is really particularly demanding for us. That's under construction. It's really fun to see it go up. I've never seen such massive steel in my life on a building, but we're in a high seismic zone, so it needs to survive an awful lot. So that's scheduled to open actually in the spring of next year, about a year from now. I started to mention the Utah Performing Arts Center. When I came into office, the year that I was elected in 2007, the Chamber of Commerce really led a downtown planning effort called Downtown Rising. And what they ended up with, which is different than many plans, is they said they focused on 8 signature projects they thought would help kind of bring us to the next level as a city. I almost in a foolhardy way said, okay, let's try to see if we can make this happen. And I don't know what it's like in your community, but particularly in tougher economic times, the nonprofit organizations, many of the performing arts and arts organizations particularly struggle. And they have been a bit resistant, but we now finally got approval in December of last year to initiate design and fund the design, leading to a $110 million construction of a new large theater downtown that's focusing on touring shows, touring Broadway and many of the touring shows that we really cannot accommodate well in our current experience in downtown Salt Lake. Associated with that is a tower that is probably, we're coordinating the development, but probably will not happen at the same time. And both of these are actually right across the street from the City Creek Center I was mentioning. I mentioned that we acquired an old theater. It's an old vaudeville theater. We are looking at the uses for that now, and it's obviously going to be a major undertaking to redevelop it. But we have 2 film organizations in addition to Sundance, which everyone knows about kind of internationally at this point. And this, we are hoping, will be a home for our film endeavors in the city, as well as a blossoming, really burgeoning at this point, digital media. We're one of the homes for a lot of Disney productions and Disney development on digital media. And our university and our community college are both producing for us as a community a whole new realm of business. And we're hoping all of that maybe can be located in this Utah theater. The Capitol Theater you'll see on the right in this picture is our beautiful old, century-old theater. We are, and serves as the home for our ballet and opera. We are putting an addition onto that in partnership with our partners in many of our downtown cultural projects, Salt Lake County, that will serve as a location for our ballet troupe. A project that has not yet gotten underway, but we're looking at, is a large convention hotel. We have benefited enormously from great expansion of our convention business and exhibit business. We have one visiting group, the Outdoor Retailers Association, which brings in over $40 million a year in direct revenues to the city through its participation there. And that is one industry through this recession that has been growing at double-digit rates. And so they are continually expanding in terms of that industry, and they love coming to Salt Lake, in large part because of our proximity to the mountains and the deserts, where they can show off their products more easily, and where they can go have fun when they're finished with their work associated with the Outdoor Retailers Association. But they're also very demanding because they're growing so fast. They need more space, and one of the ways we're looking at providing for that, as well as providing for our increasing convention business all the time, is through a convention hotel, again in downtown. We have some other areas that are under development. I'm going to talk a little bit in a minute about our transit system, which has gotten a lot of notoriety nationally. But between our new intermodal hub, or central station as we call it, where we bring all of our rail and buses together in one location now in the west part of downtown, and an old railroad station is an area we call Depot District, which is really ripe for redevelopment. And we've worked through a lot of our designs and planning, and now we're looking to attract the right mix of businesses to locate there. We are just completing now a light rail line from our airport to downtown. Let me just spend a minute here talking about light rail in Utah, because like most places, particularly in the West, people figured people aren't going to ride rail, transit isn't going to work. We went through a failed referendum, and then our transit agency had the gumption to say, we're going to build it anyway with existing revenues. And it got the general manager fired, but from the day it opened, it was an enormous success. Not only was the project done on budget and on time, but the ridership doubled projections. So we built a light rail line, our first light rail line down the middle of our valley as the spine of a rail system. Since then, we added a line from downtown up to the university that's gotten extended to our health sciences complex, which is associated with our university, and next to it, just above it. And then the community has been so supportive of our rail investment that they, time and time again now, with large majorities of the vote, have been supporting expansion of the system. So we finished a commuter rail line going north of 40 or 50 miles 2 years ago. And then we are now completing 70 miles of rail line by 2015. It'll actually all be done, it looks like, by 2014, including this airport light rail line that include a commuter rail line going 40 miles south, 5 additional spurs to our light rail line. One of them is to the airport from downtown. It is one of those things that helps establish us as a major national, maybe hopefully international at some point level city, because people want easy access when they come to your community. And having good transit, having particularly good rail is a way to do that. But we have had enormous success with light rail, and this will only obviously add to it when we open next year. Interestingly, these are a reflection of the tough economic times in terms of revenues. We will complete, actually, the airport light rail line this year. But the revenues, which are sales tax revenues for 60% of the transit agency's operations, are down enough they can't actually open the line until sometime next year. Just because they don't have the revenues to operate it, even though we'll have it completed. Just Last week, Secretary of Transportation Ray LaHood was in Salt Lake, and like you, we are embarking on a streetcar system. It is a fabulous re-entry into Salt Lake of streetcars. We had one of the best streetcar systems in the country, over 145 miles of streetcar lines in Salt Lake City. Like most places in the country, it was all ripped up. And now we're regretting it, and we're starting it back again. We have already seen, and I'm interested, I assume you're seeing the same thing in Oklahoma City. We announced that we had gotten the federal grant, which was the real catalyst for us to be able to build this system much sooner than expected, that we had gotten the federal grant last October. But when we did the groundbreaking, we already have, in the Salt Lake City portion of the line, $450 million of investment in the ground as a direct or indirect result, really, of the streetcar line being announced. Some of these were projects that had been thought about and worked on for years, and the streetcar line has just been the impetus to get them going more quickly. We share this line with a community next to us, South Salt Lake, and they have a similar type of amount of investment. It is, they call streetcars, we talk about transit-oriented development in the transit world. With streetcars, that we call it development-oriented transit, because for whatever reason, and I don't really claim to understand why, it spurs development unlike almost any other kind of infrastructure. So we're really excited about that as part of it, though it's, this is the first of 3 streetcar lines that are in design and development. We have one this one is in the south part of the city, in an old railroad corridor with a pedestrian and trail that'll connect our mountains to our river in the middle of the valley. We have one in downtown Salt Lake, and then we have one that'll go up into the suburbs just to the north, all in different stages, and obviously we're looking towards reestablishing that network. I mentioned that Salt Lake City is kind of the crossroads of the West, has all kinds of transportation opportunities. We have I think it's the 15th largest airport in the country in volume of traffic. And I just announced in January a complete reconstruction of the airport. All of the terminals, parking, rental car facilities. It's a $1.8 billion project. Everything but the runways basically is being rebuilt. We're obviously excited to get that going, and it'll serve us for a long time to come, we hope. A key for economic development, I think all of us who've worked in downtown arenas know, is having a 24/7 population. It's great to have visitors, it's great to have the daytime businesses, but people want that vibrancy in downtown. Most of our western cities kind of moved away from that. And when I first moved to Salt Lake in the early 1970s, it was this bustling downtown over the course of a couple of decades. Much of the development moved into the suburban areas, which is fine, and that was sort of the pattern of growth that we had over that period of time. But our downtown dwindled, and what we're seeing now is a reversal of that trend, and I think we're seeing that across the country. Our downtown residential development, we almost can't keep up with right now. We literally have probably in the last year of projects that are under construction or completed a couple of thousand units of residential development. Everything from very affordable units to much higher end than we've ever seen in downtown Salt Lake. Couple $1 million penthouse kind of units, and they are selling and doing well, and the apartments are doing well. And it's 2 parts of the demographics that are really seeking downtown. It's the empty nesters who are tired of mowing their lawns and their kids are gone and they don't need a big house and they want more of an urban lifestyle. And then this younger generation is particularly attracted to an urban lifestyle. My son is reflective of that, who's 30 years old. He made a decision to move downtown. So many of his friends did. They want to live in a place where there's a lot of activity, and having good transportation access is a key so they can get to wherever they want, either in their car or by transit. But we're seeing an explosion, literally it seems like an explosion of residential development in a full range of types in our downtown area. And we're fortunate in Salt Lake because the residential areas right around our downtown have been largely preserved as residential, with a range from single family to condos and larger multifamily units. And we've been, I think, lucky with that. It took a lot of community activism in the 80s when portions of our older residential areas were being converted to apartments. People said, we want to hold on to the quality of our neighborhoods. And that's given us this kind of range and proximity, immediate proximity to our downtown of a great mix of residential types. Part of being at the crossroads of the West is having a lot of industrial and manufacturing centers in our area. And I'll just mention a couple of areas where we're seeing a lot of growth for us in Salt Lake City. Again, a lot of this is spinning out of the university and other industries, but a lot of composites and aerospace development, and then outdoor products. We're seeing companies who come for the outdoor retailers are looking for an environment where they have access to test their products really easily, and also their employees like to be in an outdoor recreational environment. Locating in Salt Lake. And in our area, the distribution and manufacturing development has continued right through this recession. So for us, this is an exciting time. In this term for me as mayor, I'm reorienting some of my focus to focus on our neighborhood business areas. So much of, I think, what makes our communities such great places to live is having walkable neighborhoods, is people being able to walk down to a corner store or pick up their dry cleaning or take their kids to a park or get whatever services they want within their neighborhood. And the interaction that comes in meeting their neighbors, which is something most of us really want and enjoy, happens a lot more. So we are focusing now, in many instances, of recreating what 100 years ago were neighborhood business districts. We have some of them, so they serve as great models because people love them, and they're some of the most attractive areas in the city to live. And in some areas where they have become more strip mall developments, we are redoing the infrastructure around those areas with trail connections, with bringing the businesses to the street front, to helping support through a whole variety of programs, whether that's marketing or loan programs, the redevelopment of those areas, and are doing it in partnership with students and schools, and it's working, but it is a slow process. But we're really seeing some very nice success with that. And it counterbalances where we're seeing other really good success. Now the second largest Goldman Sachs office in the Americas is in Salt Lake City. They've grown from a very small, just local office to a large and growing service area for Goldman Sachs, and we're fortunate to have them located in downtown Salt Lake, and they now have 2,200 employees in downtown Salt Lake. All that's happened in a period of about 5 years. So we're seeing this nice mix, I think, of local development and our focus there with new businesses moving in. So what's next? We certainly see so much happening in Salt Lake. Our Chamber of Commerce president has said, and I've kind of adopted, that very much like Oklahoma City, we're in a renaissance period in our city. It's reestablishing itself not only as the center for commerce, but as the center for activity of all kinds. And there is a new vibrancy downtown. Like so many Western cities particularly, our downtown at night was pretty quiet 10 years ago. today, and I think the change started when I really started to feel the difference a couple of years ago. There are always people on the streets, whether it's going to restaurants, whether it's going to shows, whether it's going to jazz games, or Major League Soccer, whatever it might be. We have people continually downtown, and of course having people live downtown makes a huge difference there. And then a lot of things that get sponsored by the city. We've had a summer concert series called the Twilight Series, and they figured they were getting 2,000 or 3,000 people. They finally did a count because it was overflowing in their location. They had 18,000 people there. We were redeveloping that center called the Gallivan Center in downtown and moved it to a park. And the night we opened, we had 40,000 people at our first concert. We're averaging that now for our concerts in this concert series. But you bring that many people. You know, it's like for a Thunder game, and double it, right? You bring that many people downtown, and you know what that does for the sense of excitement and generation of activity. It's funny, I'm a cyclist and commute to work by bicycle, and so I'm always paying attention to kind of what's happening with our biking infrastructure and making a lot of improvements there. But when we have these Twilight Series, literally for 2 blocks all around the Twilight Series, you cannot find a post without 2 or 3 bikes attached to it, and that's in addition to having sort of a valet service for bikes that holds several hundred. It's really amazing and kind of fun, but it's an example of the kinds of things that are happening in cities, I think, when we provide the infrastructure, when we provide the right kind of environment, when we view our business organizations and businesses as partners, and how to make it easy to do business in our city. We have gone to where if our permitting now is almost all done online. If someone has a project, regardless of how big, and City Creek Center was sort of our test case, partway through we converted over, we have businesses that won't even come to the city that are opening up a business, submit everything, get everything approved online. And those kinds of things, that kind of partnership is what I view as kind of the key kind of theme. And I know Mayor Cornett, from talking to him, that is so much the way he looks at how we are successful as a community. I've worked in and out of government really my whole career. And when we find people in government whose first answer is no, and we all know that experience, those are people who need to relearn their jobs or go find another job. Because we have to protect our health. We have to protect our environment. We have to provide for public safety, and those should be uncompromising principles. But we also have to be practical in how we achieve those goals. And sometimes in all of these standards, no matter how thick the code book is, there's a lot of interpretation, and people can either go, you know something, what you're trying to do here makes sense, and we can, you may have to make some adjustments. We can see how something can work in a way that achieves our goals and our needs and the community's needs, and move on down the path together. That makes all of the difference in the world in a business's sense of how receptive a community is to success. And you know, as much as I like to talk about our public safety building or our transit system development or a new performing arts center, I know, and I think most of us know, that the key to the success is having folks like you who believe that their investment is going to be appreciated and successful and supported. And partnerships are really at the heart of success in a community. We've certainly seen that in Salt Lake, and I think has enabled us to move past some very difficult times. And I'm saying past because we hope we are past the worst of it. We're certainly seeing that in our city. But also for us to aspire to be what we want to be. When I ran for mayor, I said, Salt Lake City can be and should be known as a great American city. And that's the path I keep reminding us that we're on in our city. And all of the things that you're doing in this city and that we find ourselves doing, we can learn and share from each other. And I'm looking forward to the rest of this morning, but also to sharing with the mayor and others how we can improve the way we do things and learn from each other in a way that enables us to be successful and to really remain the world leaders as the century unfolds before us. So thank you so much for inviting me to be with you. Go Thunder. And we'll enjoy, certainly I'll enjoy the rest of this morning and appreciate seeing all of the things that are happening in Oklahoma City.